As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Everyone, welcome into another episode of the Sleeping with the Numbers podcast. Dylan back again after a loss this week. We ended up losing 2.33 units overall, but again, the model continues to disappoint. Only going, let's see here, 3-6 on the bets, losing 2.47 units. It is now still profitable. The Eagles bailed them out here on Monday Night Football. Profit of only 0.78 units at the moment. 44.4% hit rate, 0.59% ROI. So model, shit in the bed, going down in shambles. I went back and looked at the model's performance in previous years, and these ups and downs, they happen. What pretty much happens is it makes some wild bets on some dogs, and when those finally hit, they make up for all of the losses that the model has had. That's kind of how this works. Again, we're not expecting a high win percentage, just hopefully a profitable season here. And if you're following me, at least, we're doing pretty well. I have a 63.725% overall win rate, a profit of 44.15 units, and an ROI of 21.64%. So happy about that. Not happy about the model, even though, man versus machine wise, I am beating the shit out of the model, but I still want the model to perform well because that's where I make a good handful of these bets from on the money line based on the model. That's again the point of the show. We'll also say, doing this show live today, no editing, so hopefully I don't screw up. I don't have time to edit before this needs to come out, so hey, we're here for the ride. Let's see what happens. So far, so good, but hey, we're only 2 minutes in. So overall, still up 44.93 units. Like I said, most of that is me. So we will get into week 12 here. But before that, I did want to go back and look at my rest of season predictions for win-loss and playoffs. I went through them last week, and I did say that I was unsure the extent of Joe Burrow's injury. Now we know. Out for the season is Joe Burrow. So I went back in and I readjusted my thoughts here. Not drastically different. I did change them to get 1, 2, 3 more losses, which will end up putting them at 8, 9 and missing playoffs, which I think is pretty fair. I have the Steelers beating them this week. That is a combination of the loss of Joe Burrow and the firing of Matt Canada. Hopefully, I don't expect drastic changes. It sounds like Kenny Pickett doesn't expect that at all. I still think it's up in the air. If Kenny can actually do more than he's been putting out there, yes, all the blame went to Matt Canada, which I believe was fair. That play calling was bad. Everyone knew what was coming. It was apparent to see. I think it was like week 2 or something like that, maybe a little later, where there was a play where the defense straight up called out and said they're running the same play. And that's when everything started to sink in. I'm like, oh no, this is going to be all year. I did not expect the Steelers to fire him in the middle of the season. We never do that. But here we are firing our offensive coordinator mid-season. We'll see if we can do any better. Again, I don't expect drastic changes, but if we can at least now get something different. Let Kenny throw down the middle. I looked at the next-gen stats on NFL.com, and all of his throws are to the sideline, and I think the longest completion was like 12 yards or something. Let the boy throw. You have George Pickens, who's an absolute monster, who can win those 50-50 balls. Maybe they're more 70-30, 60-40 when Kenny's throwing them, but still, give the dude a chance. He was doing pretty well without Deontay, and I don't think there's any reason to not spread the ball out more, give it to Pickens, just give him a chance. We have nothing to lose at this point. We need to see what we have in Kenny Pickett, if he's the guy for the long haul, or if he's not. Right now, it's leaning towards the latter, but still, we will see what happens here. But I think we need to realize now that with the firing of Matt Canada, blame will now go to Kenny. And not that it really didn't before, it was just like 90% of it was on Canada. But now, as long as they let Kenny actually try things and we call some different plays, Kenny has to execute. So that is still very up in the air. We'll see what happens. Getting back to the team wins here, that has the Bengals going 8-9 to finish out the season, which means for the playoffs, I have, if it will go back a damn week, what's happening? So for the playoffs, in the wild card, we have Miami versus Houston, Steelers versus the Jaguars, Browns versus the Ravens. In the NFC, we got the Cowboys versus Tampa. Crazy enough, Tampa is a higher seed than the Cowboys because that horrible division. Saints take on San Francisco. Detroit takes on Minnesota. So for that, I have Miami beating Houston. I think Houston has greatly improved, but have not seen it. I don't know if that can continue the whole way into the playoffs. I hope it does, because that makes things way more exciting. But I think Miami is an all-around better team. We got the Jags beating the Steelers. We'll make playoffs. Tomlin will keep his over 500 record, but he'll do what he always does, which is lose early on in the playoffs. Ravens beating the Browns. It's an easy one. Browns making it here due to an easy schedule, which a lot of the AFC North has. That's why 3 of them are here. Cowboys will beat the Bucks. San Francisco will beat New Orleans. Detroit will beat Minnesota. In the divisional round, I'll take Kansas City to beat Miami, the Ravens to beat the Jags. I think San Francisco will end up beating Detroit, and then Philly beating Dallas. Finally, if you've listened to me in the very first episode, we end up the same exact way. Chiefs beating the Ravens, Philly beating the Niners, and we have yet again the same Super Bowl, Philly versus Kansas City. We can make all the narratives we want with Philly beating Kansas City this past week. Receivers dropping the ball, they'll get back at it. It just makes the Super Bowl all the more exciting. You get another Kelsey Bowl. Taylor Swift will probably be there, which the NFL will love because that gets more eyes on the Super Bowl. And I do think Kansas City ends up winning it again. So not a ton changes in terms of the final outcome of the season. Just a few different teams we get in the playoffs. But let's hop into this week. We got Thanksgiving. So we got 3 games on Thanksgiving. We have our first Black Friday game. No bye weeks this week, so we are going through all 16 games here. So let's get this going. And again, no editing, so really hope I don't mess up and need a long pause here. First matchup of the week. Green Bay Packers at 4-6 taking on the 8-2 Lions. The Lions are 7.5-point home favorites. Over under of 47.5. Slightly surprising there on how high that line is. One would have thought, Green Bay isn't the most scary offense, but the Chargers found a way to make them look good. I don't expect Detroit to do the same thing. So little sus on the over under of 47.5. Yes, the Lions have put up a ton of points as well. 31-41-26, but that was against Vegas, the Chargers, who the Packers also smacked, and the Chicago Bears. So easy pick for me is the Lions to win. I think the Lions can cover as well, but I will take the under. That 47.5 feels too high, just kind of shockingly high when I go and look at it. The model will be taking and this is what happens when I don't get to edit. Model is going to take Detroit to win. However, the edge is on the Packers at plus 310. So 5.348% edge for the Packers. it really has everything to do with the odds. The model is only giving the Packers a 29.74% chance of winning, but the plus 310 implies a 24.4% chance of winning. Our model's win probability higher than the implied probability. You take the bet, and that's what we will roll with here. Next matchup, divisional matchup. All of these are divisional matchups. Of course they are. It's Thanksgiving. They always are. Washington Commanders 4-7 take on the 7-3 Dallas Cowboys. Commanders got embarrassed by the New York Giants after the Cowboys smacked the hell out of the Giants. So football math, that means the Cowboys should smack the shit out of the Commanders, which I do believe to be the case. Dallas, a 13.5 point home favorite, over under a 48.5. I will be taking that under as well. I don't know how the Commanders score. Cowboys, we know they can score, but then I think they're just going to shut it down on defense, and they'll light it up. It's not going to be super fun to watch. I have a handful of my DFS lineups in here. I even did a little draft on Underdog, which you can do just for Thanksgiving. A 4-person 6-round draft. And I basically just stacked this game. Model giving the Cowboys a 99.5% chance of winning, and even gives them a 12% edge. However, the line currently, the best line we were able to find was minus 670. We're not taking that. That is not enough return. So no bet on this matchup. And it looks like that line moved even further. Pro Football Focus has it at minus 820. So if you can find better than that, probably still doesn't matter. Don't take that bet. There's not enough return. Third and final Thanksgiving matchup, we get the San Francisco 49ers against the Seattle Seahawks. Niners, 7-point away favorites. Over-under set at 44. This is one where, I generally take the under when I'm looking at the Niners. The under has hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And the over has hit 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they hit exactly on 36 against the Browns. So, again, pretty split in half there, almost on the dot. And that's what Vegas tries to do. So I do lean towards the under. Seattle has not been super impressive lately. They lose to the Rams by a point last week. They beat Washington, which is not an impressive feat, and then they got absolutely destroyed by Baltimore 2 weeks ago. So easy pick for the Niners to win. There will likely not be a bet on this game. Yes, even though the model is finding a 20% edge on the 49ers, it's at minus 310. Not worth taking that bet here. I would also take the 49ers to cover in this matchup. Seattle just having a rough time. It sounds like it's up in the air if Geno is going to play. Let's see here. Geno Smith is currently questionable with an arm injury, so that's a big problem. It looked pretty bad. It sounded pretty bad. I don't know if he plays in this matchup. Even if he does, it's not going to be a fun time going against that 49ers defense. So I think Thanksgiving games pretty easy to predict. They're going to go exactly how you expect, one would believe. Doesn't give us the most exciting matchups during Thanksgiving, so maybe you just enjoy the food a bit more than watching these, all basically blowout expected games. The first ever Black Friday game is another divisional matchup and another expected blowout. The Miami Dolphins are taking on the New York Jets. Jets are at home. Dolphins 7-3. Jets 4-6. Dolphins are 9.5 point away favorites. I've already taken the favorites here for the spread every single time. With a divisional matchup, the over-under is only 41. I think it's going to be a bit closer. This Jets defense is very good. We obviously know that the Jets offense is not very good. They're going to switch some things up. Who knows how that goes for them. But I think the Jets can cover the 9.5 point spread. I actually ended up getting them at plus 10. I think that 9.5 is fine enough. I think they would also cover that, which may be a little bit unexpected. With a team, you look at the Jets and you're like, oh, they're horrible. They're going to get destroyed. But their defense is just so good. Divisional, they know each other well, and it should remain low scoring, I think, even with the Dolphins. So for the model will be yet again picking the obvious winner, the Dolphins, and a 9% edge on the Dolphins, but no bet because it is at minus 425. Not enough return there, so there will be no bet. Is every matchup this week a divisional matchup? No, it is not. Okay. It just a lot of these first games are. So yet again, another divisional matchup, New Orleans against Atlanta. This is a pick'em, a little surprising there, and an over-under of 42. I'll take the under. With the pick'em, search around on different sports books. You'll probably be able to find +1 on either team, depending where you look. I was able to get New Orleans at +1 for the spread, and I expect them to win outright, so I would just take the +1 spread. Basically the same thing. The over-under of 42. Man, the New Orleans defense is good. The Falcons offense is okay. Man, that's tough though. It feels low, but at the same time, the Saints have allowed 27, 17, 27. Okay, you know what? They're actually allowing a decent amount of points, but the under has hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in their 11 matchups. I'm sorry, they've only played 10 games. 7 out of 10, 70% of the time it has been the under. Good enough to me to take that bet. The Falcons, pretty similar here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of their 10 games, 60% have been the under. So I think that's fair. I think I will end up taking the under 42 points here. New Orleans to win, New Orleans to cover. The model will be taking the Saints to win, and a bet on the Saints at minus 102. 5.08% edge found for the Saints. So that is where the model will be headed. So far, so good for the model. I think, Green Bay up in the air, but the return is, I guess, worth that risk in the model's mind. Plus 310, if that hits, that's pretty good. That gets us back. That gets us back up a decent amount. Talked about this game a little bit earlier when we were talking about the Bengals change in the season. Steelers firing Matt Canada, and they end up a favorite here. Away favorite by 1.5, over under a 35.5. We've talked about this. Anytime it is, I think it was below 36.5, the under has hit 70 some percent of the time. I gotta look up that exact number, but I'll take the under here. I don't think firing Matt Canada changes our offensive woes. Steelers have a decent defense. Bengals have an okay defense. Both offenses are pretty mediocre. So maybe we don't expect a solid back and forth here. So under 35.5 is where I will be going. I will be taking that bet as well. That sounds great to me. And for, I think, the first time, the model... No, it's not the first time. It feels like it because it's been so long, but the model is actually taking the Steelers not only as a bet at minus 115, but also to win with a 73.6% win probability. So that hasn't happened in a very long time. And like I've said in a lot of the episodes, the model does not know about injuries. The model does not know that Joe Burrow is out for the season. What it does know is the statistics from last game where they weren't good. So the model taking that into account, and while it doesn't explicitly know that Joe Burrow is out, it does know that the stats without him were very, very poor. So that's what's taken into an account here, and that's why the Steelers are getting the nod here from the model. And then, of course, the model has no idea Matt Canada was fired. That'd be a funny variable to put in there, though. And then you don't want my bias pick, but I'm obviously going to pick the Steelers. 1-9 Carolina Panthers taking on the 3-7 Titans. Neither team is good. That's why I'll be taking the under 36.5. Titans are 3.5 point home favorites. I likely won't bet anything other than the under on this game. I can see it go either way. Both teams are pretty damn awful, so I just don't even want to think about it and take a chance here. However, the model is going to make me take a chance here on Carolina. Model has them winning, and we'll found a 23.28% edge for the Panthers at plus 163 on the money line. Tampa Bay, Indianapolis Colts. Tampa Bay coming in at 4-6. They have completely lost all of their juice they had. They looked like a solid team there for a bit. Even with the losses, they looked good in some of these. However, not the case this week, and probably not for the rest of the season. Colts 5-5 are favored here at home by 2.5 points. Over under of 44.5. This is like which side do you want to believe? Because the Colts have hit the over a lot of the time, and the Bucs have hit the under in all but 2 games. So it's like, which side do you really want to believe? Generally, the under is the better pick in the past few years, and that is where I lean. I don't think I'm confident enough to bet anything here on this matchup, but if I had to pick, I'm going to be taking the under 44.5. And probably take the Colts to win and cover as well. The model will be taking the Colts to win and found a 24.5% edge at minus 130. So again, we're pretty much on the same page here as the model, which doesn't always happen. It happens when picking the winner, but not so much when placing the bet. So hopefully that's good. That's a good sign that we're in line. But hey, we'll find out here. Maybe this is a week. We'll get back. Next matchup here is a total snooze fest. New England. Oh boy. New England 2-8 taking on the 3-8 Giants. Giants are 3.5 point home underdogs. Over under of 34. We're taking that under. I'm not betting this game. There's no chance I bet this game. But if I had to take a pick, it's going to be New England. You give them the time to come back, think about what they've done during the bye. We'll see what Bill Belichick comes back with. Who knows who the quarterback is? That doesn't matter. Probably not. But I'll take my chances with Bill on my pick. Not confident enough to bet on it, but that is my pick if I had to do it. The model has the Giants to win, 55.358% win probability, and finding a 17.622% edge at plus 165 for the Giants. So again, like I said, this is not a game I would bet on. The only reason I'm doing it is because the model says so, and I'm just following orders. This is probably the first one, outside of Green Bay. Green Bay at least has a really good return at plus 310. The plus 165 for the Giants doesn't excite me at all, looking at how they've played. I know they looked okay last week, but that was also against Washington, which they haven't looked good against anyone. Next matchup here, divisional matchup, a good one. I think this is the one I predict to see in the playoffs. So 7-3 Jags go to Houston to take on the 6-4 Texans. Jags are 1.5 away favorite, over under a 48.5. This might be the first over I take here. I think both these teams can score, and their defenses, middle of the ball. They're nothing special. Let's see here. If I had to pick, I think I go Houston. I think they've just looked impressive all around. The Cardinals win is whatever. That was a little closer than you probably would have liked. But still, I think they just look like an impressive team with their foot on the gas right now. Trevor Lawrence coming back looking fantastic. This is going to be a super fun one. And if you're playing DFS anywhere, this is the matchup you want to target. This one sounds like a back and forth, just banger to watch. The model, let's see if we're on the same page here. We are. Wow, okay. All right, model. Model will also be picking the Texans to win and has a 32.336% edge at plus 110 on Houston. So, yeah, this one can really go either way. Might be one to just sit back and enjoy for fantasy purposes if you don't want to take a bet. But being the model here, we're taking the bet on Houston to win and cover. The over-under, I lean towards the over, but I don't think I'm confident enough to take that bet. But again, as always, stay tuned. Pay attention to sleepingwiththenumbers.com/bets, and those are where all of our official bets are tracked. Cleveland, without Deshaun Watson, is 7-3. Broncos at 5-5. Denver, 1.5 home favorites, over under of 36. Give me that under. I've been really enjoying the unders with Denver. That has been great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unders in a row. Yeah, that's awesome. So I'll be taking the under here again for this game. I'm not betting on either team. I hope they both lose, but I know that can't happen. If I'm forced to pick, I probably go Denver to win and cover, but I'm not putting any real money on it other than the model making me take a bet at minus 120 on Denver, as it found a 6.431% edge. 61% chance win probability the model is giving to the Broncos. Visual matchup 4-6. LA Rams take on the 2-9 Arizona Cardinals. Rams are currently a point away favorite. I lean the exact opposite. I'm taking Cardinals to fully win. I think they've looked better since Kyler has come back. They got the win against Atlanta. They had a good show with Houston. They obviously didn't get the win there. Lost by 5, but I'm seeing flashes here with the Cardinals. I think they can beat the Rams here. And if it's just a point difference, I'll take them to cover as well. The over-under of 44.5 is not a fun one. Don't think I'm confident in either direction. I saw a TikTok the other day that they're like, oh, there's a magic number and that magic number is 44. If the over-under is set to anything over 44, you take the over. If it's set to anything under 44, you take the under. Is how I interpreted that TikTok. I haven't dug into that at all. I'm actually pretty curious to see if that's accurate at all. Sounds interesting. If it is that easy, I think everyone would kind of have figured that out. So I don't believe it's probably that easy. But that is an interesting thing to think about. Not taking it into consideration here. I'm just not confident either way in that over-under. The model, riding with me again. Riding with its creator, taking the Cardinals to win, and they found an edge for Arizona at 24.229%. That was at minus 108. So wherever the model pulled its data from has the Arizona Cardinals as a favorite. Let me check in on that real quick and see where it is finding that. There must have been a shift since I last looked. Yeah, okay. I see. So has minus 105 now. It was minus 108. It's now down to minus 105 on DraftKings. You can also get the Rams at minus 104 on FanDuel. So that's interesting there. So again, this is why you shop around to find the best odds depending on what you are trying to bet. And hey, if you don't have time to shop around, just check out our website, sleepingwiththenumbers.com/games. And we give you the best odds and where to find them. Just like that. Pretty easy. Obviously, you have to be in somewhere that allows you to use all these different sports books. And not all of us have that luxury. Like me. But hey, if you're able to do this, if you're not shopping around, you're losing money. It actually is that simple. So yeah, Model and I both lean towards the Cardinals to win and cover, and not touching that over/under. Kansas City after an embarrassing loss to Philadelphia, and you may say like, hey, Philly's a good team. It's not embarrassing to lose to them. It is when you lost the way the Chiefs lost, because they should have won that game. Those turnovers, those drops, that's not good. That's not good for a team that most of the world expects to win the Super Bowl, which actually, that's a good question here. And stay with me, because again, I am not editing this out. I'm just going to talk a whole bunch until I get to what I'm looking for, which is the current Super Bowl winner odds. So I am checking for that. I want to look at the futures. And okay, interesting. So currently, the Eagles and the Niners are tied to win the Super Bowl at plus 450, putting the Chiefs at plus 475. Okay, super interesting there. I did expect the Eagles to be up there. I did not expect the Niners to be up there as well. So, fun fact of the episode. Chiefs 9-point away favorites, over under of 43. I think I do lean towards that over here, even though Chiefs defense is pretty solid. Pissed off Andy Reid and Mahomes, all these guys. They might just really punish their division rival of the Raiders and put up some points here, leaving the Raiders needing to score like 14, which I think they can do. I would take, I would take the over 43. Kansas City, obviously, to win. I'd probably take them to cover as well, the -9. I won't bet that, but that would be my pick, would be the -9 for Kansas City. Model, of course, has Kansas City winning, but 15.865% edge at plus 360 for the Raiders. So they will be taking those big plus odds and hoping to get a return off of the Chiefs' failures. Buffalo and Philly, that sounds like a fun matchup. Bills at 6-5, they really need to do some work here if they want to have a chance at making playoffs. I'm pretty sure it's out of their control at the time, for the time being. Eagles 9-1, looking great. Number 1 ranked offense in the NFL, only favored by 3 points. That sounds like a gimme. So I will gladly be taking Philly to cover and win here. I think I lean towards the under. I know they expect big things from these offenses, but usually when it comes down to it, these matchups end up a little bit disappointing in terms of points scored. So I'm riding with the Eagles to win and cover. The model has the Bills winning and has a 30.759% edge. So this is where me and the model are going to differ. Philly -3 sounds like a gift. The Bills, what, did they even win? Yeah, whoopee. They won 32-6 against the Jets. They lost against the Broncos. They lost against the Bengals. They beat Tampa Bay. They lost to the Patriots. That's not a team that deserves to be in playoffs. This is it. This really feels like it for the Bills. So I will gladly be taking Philly. If I don't do like a lock of the week or anything like that, but if I did, that's who I'm going with. That just feels wrong in my mind. Model, opposite, taking the Bills. Chargers, Ravens. Baltimore at 8-3, Chargers at 4-6. They keep shooting themselves in the foot. It's incredibly embarrassing. That's another coach that needs fired. Honestly, well, they can't fire their offensive coordinator. He's been doing actually pretty good. But their head coach, he has to go. Staley, that's his name, right? Not Staley. Is it Staley? I don't know. I don't care enough to look up. I think it's Staley. But he's not good enough to be coach of this team. He's horrible. Ravens, 3.5-point away favorites, over under of 48. I think the defense of the Chargers might allow that over to be hit. Not sure if I'm confident enough to take it, but I am confident enough to take the Ravens to win and to cover 3.5 points. I don't know how they're not larger favorites with how the Chargers have played recently. Let's see here. They're 4-6 against the spread. They lost to Green Bay by 3. They lost to... Okay, no. That's why the line's like that, because they've only lost by 3 their last 2 games, and if it's 3.5, they would have covered the spread. So, okay, that makes sense. That's kind of funny. But no, I will not be riding with the Chargers. I'm done with that. I really like them. I want them to do well. If you listen to this show, you know I pick them pretty damn often, and I've just been hurt every time. So I'm done. We're breaking up. So I'm going to roll here with the Ravens to win and cover. The model also taking the Ravens to win and found a 16.7% edge at minus 175 for the Ravens. That sounds great to me. Last game of the week, Monday Night Football. 3-8 Bears take on the 6-5 Vikings. Vikings are 3.5-point home favorites, over under of 43. I think that's a good over. I think the over sounds good there. Neither defense is very good. Bears especially are pretty damn awful. I think I have to take Minnesota to cover. Yeah, I'll take them to cover. And obviously, if I'm taking them to cover, I'm taking them to win as well, since they are the favorite. Model. Taking the Vikings to win, but found a slight edge, 3.215% at plus 154 on the Bears. So the model will be taking that money line bet. That'll do it. Big week. Big week. 16 games. We ran through them all. We made it. I didn't have to pause too much other than to slightly blow my nose. I don't know if that got caught on on the microphone, but I just outed myself. Hoping all the best to you and your fantasy teams. Hopefully we get this betting back on track. I think we will. Lots of opportunities here this week. I'm hoping this is the biggest week we get of the season, and what a way to have it on Thanksgiving week. So enjoy the holidays, and we'll see you back again next week.